हेलो या अमृता मैम. बॉक्सफायर वगैरह कुछ तो लगेगा कि नहीं लगता? HDMI से. मैम यू आर नॉट ऑडिबल राइट नाउ. उसको बोलो कि वो स्पीकर का आवाज़ नहीं आ रहा है.
दिनेश जो लोग जुड़ रहे हैं ना उनका आवाज़ नहीं आ रहा है, जो ऑनलाइन आ रहे हैं ना हमारा आवाज़ तो जा रहा है, उनका आवाज़ नहीं आ रहा है.
अमृता मैम कैन यू कम ऑनलाइन.
Yes, sir.
या गुड मॉर्निंग मैम.
Good morning, sir.
या थैंक यू मैम. मैम वी विल इन्वाइट यू इन अराउंड 10:10 once the
Yes.
first presentation is done.
Okay,
Okay
sir.
ma'am, thank you.
Yes. Thank you. I'm here.
Yeah, they're online.
Hello. You are also here, no, with me? No, 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 just stand. Okay, or you said whatever. Like, I'm just for some. That's all. I'll talk, no problem. In case something.
In case something happens here, I'll manage.
Yeah. ठीक है, ठीक है. Okay, okay, fine. बस इतनी ही. Hello. Okay. Good morning, everybody. A warm welcome to you all, online, offline, for the second day of this conference. The first session will be paper presentations, and the second half will be the unit talk after post-lunch. We have with us online and offline speakers waiting to present their papers. And the session chair for today's morning session, the first half session, is being done by architect Rajiv Mishra, sir. He is an architect and urban planner based in Mumbai, a graduate of architecture from Academy of Architecture. He undertook postgraduate studies in town and country planning at Government College of Engineering, Pune. He received the Netherlands Government Fellowship to study urban management at the Institute of Housing Studies at Rotterdam, Netherlands. His special interests are issues dealing with sustainable urbanism, community architecture, heritage conservation, and technology in building management, classical arts and education of architects and planners in a changing society. He has been exploring this field extensively through various research studies, trying to bridge the gap between education and practice. In June 2000, he completed his postgraduate diploma in management of education with reference to art and architecture, institutions from Department of Education, University of Mumbai. He has taught for 30 years and has been involved in conducting seminars and workshops on subjects of architecture, design, city planning, history, and theory of architecture as well as on development of urban management at Sir J.J. College of Architecture. He has been the chairperson for the course committee of interior design and is currently Board of Studies chairperson of education at University of Mumbai. He was involved with IIT Mumbai for the first solar passive architecture education handbook. He has a professional work experience of 30 years and currently works on projects as the director of the consultancy cell. He believes in significance and relevance of search for visual expression and has ongoing passion to record visual experiences. To him, art has to be treated as a cultural output and a celebration process of ongoing expressions by many citizens from time to time. He was appointed as chairman All India Board of Architecture Education by AICTE term 2010 to 13 and term 2013 to 16. He was a chairperson of the NBA Evaluate Committee for Architecture Education 2011 to 13. He was elected as executive committee member at Council of Architecture. Has been elected as a member of Council of Architecture, Delhi. He's a Senate member on SPA Bhopal and Vijayawada in Delhi. He's a member of the Mumbai Heritage Conservation Committee since 2 decades. Planning Committee member, MCGM, MMRD, and MADA. As a member of State Environment Impact Assessment Authority Maharashtra, he is currently engaged in reviewing the environment policy. He has completed his doctoral work on the topic Alternative Model for Squatter Upgradation in Mumbai at the Department of Housing School of Planning and Architecture, New Delhi. Since 2008, he has been appointed as principal of Sir J.J. College of Architecture at University of Mumbai. Additionally, he was appointed by Government of Maharashtra as Directorate of Art from 2015 to 2022. He is currently involved in establishing Sir J.J. School of Art and Architecture and Design as a deemed university under the nouveau category according to NEP 2020, as per the directions of the state government and letter of intent received from UGC in 2021. So in short, this was a little bit about him. So welcome to this paper presentations today. Audience, please give a very big round of applause for him. He is going to chair the session for the first half. Thank you, sir. With this, we start with our presentation. The first presenter is architect Dheeraj Salhotra, co-author Ganesh Lad, and Ms. Beena Montero. I request the audience to please keep your mobile on silent or shut it off because the noise in between the presentations disturbs not only the presenters but the session chair and others listening to it. And I request the students who are sitting here, students of architecture, be it first year, second year, third year, fourth year, fifth year, or budding architects, please take down notes as the presentations are being made because these are topics which are relevant to you. They are presented by architects, and you, as budding architects, need to take some points, tips, and references for it so that tomorrow, when you have to present a paper or do a research, you know how to go about it. So don't take this as just a session to come and sit and listen, but take it as an informative, educative session when you are understanding what topics to take, how to go about it, listen to everything that is being said carefully, even try to find out if you can ask any questions. Your questions are welcome. In fact, they are more welcome because you know something new. You all are the young ones today. You all are aspiring architects and you all have fresh ideas. So from you should come the next step. So please write down your questions, whatever you have, and pass it to the volunteers who will pass it on to the session chair. Your questions, you cannot ask them directly, just write them down along with your name and the name of the paper for which you are asking the questions. And like yesterday sir said, it will be included in the proceedings books and the abstract. So that is one thing you can look forward to, having your name in the book along with the questions that you have asked, and you could be an inspiration for the future students. So with that, I now hand over the mic to the first presenter. Thank you, everybody. A big round of applause for the ensuing proceedings.
Good morning, everyone. This presentation is a concise summary. After the research paper has been a concise summary of 2,000 words of 2 years of research which went during the lockdown period. And this is further concise visual journey of the research paper which was submitted earlier. The topic for this particular presentation is on the Maidans, which are acting as an institution. The presentation shall run in three parts. The first part is to demystify the notions about the urban context regarding the migrant and the city population, which is generally considered as cosmopolitan. And the presentation shall further go into delving into what are the indicators when we talk about what's the pulse of the city. So there will be some pointers on how we should judge the pulse of the city by looking at the Maidans. And the third part of the presentation will delve into the parameters that one has to keep in mind. These parameters are also discussed by United Nations and they have identified them. What the attempt has been done by me as a researcher is elaborating on those points with the indicators which were found in the local area, which were converted into a questionnaire, and through the survey and documentation about the gathered data, the conclusions have been drawn. So I welcome you all to the visual journey of the presentation. The slides which are there as a visual journey have images from various references. The references are mentioned below the images, and if you click on them, you will go to the pages which will take you to the sites which will give you further insights. General conception about migrant population is like in the movie like Do Biga Zameen or many other movies have been shown. We believe that urban migration is usually from rural to urban areas. On the contrary to that, there are statistical analysis which has proven that most of the migration happens from urban to urban area. The difference is it takes place between tier 3 city to tier 2 and from tier 2 to tier 1, and sometimes there is from tier 3 to tier 1. So this is the major chunk of the migration which happens. So on the contrary belief that usually that we have in our mind that it's a rural migrant coming into an urban area, it's urban to urban migration. That is first demystification. There are some statistical data which supports this. This analysis is already available on net. You can browse through. The link is also given in the presentation. So this is the urban migrant reality. The other misconception that we have in our mind is the cosmopolitan cities are made up of multiple people who are from diverse backgrounds and they come together, stay together, and there are mixed cultural dialogue. But when you study the fabric of the city, you will find some pattern exists. So although it appears on the surface as a cosmopolitan unit, but still within it, it has groups of people. And there is also a study which is done. That study clearly represents that you can group city clusters in the form of the economic groups, also in the occupational groups, and also in terms of how the particular residents are. So birds of a feather flock together. So that's the kind of a pattern which you will see in an urban context. So although we believe that it's a cosmopolitan culture, but within that cosmopolitan culture, multiple cosmos coexist. I would be very clear that the Vasant Kunj building, which is next to us, it's a microcosm in itself. It has a culture of its own, and that, because it sits into Thakur village, has its own culture. And if you compare Thakur village with Chandavarkar lane, which I belong, then there is this cultural diversity. But within that, there is an homogeneity. I suppose this will clarify the point on the diversities and the complexities which are there in an urban environment. And this formed the basis of the research and the selection of the sites. So there are detailed studies on the kind of open spaces and the relationship between the economic groups. In the fabric of Mumbai itself, you will find that the higher income group areas have more open spaces, but they are confined. They are confined for specific purposes. And in contrary to that, the lesser economic zones or lesser, say, income zones, housing areas have lesser spaces at multiple utility. So as per UN, they have listed these as the pulse indicators. These are the indicators by which you can judge how inclusive is the urban open space. So as student of architecture, you can just take down these points. The link is also available. I'll share in the next slide. And from there, you will be able to gather all the inclusivity points. So when you are roaming around in the city, you can look around for these clues. And if you will see those clues, you will find that these are some of the things that inclusivity brings if it is there in the open Maidans. So what it does is, it changes the life of the city. It changes the way people live. We live in small houses, especially in the context of the Mumbai city. We live in very small homes. And the living room of our city is the Maidan. It's the open space. So making it public, making it available for people, allow them to utilize in the manner that they want to, is something which we need the most. So in one and many ways, Maidans definitely are the living room of our city habitat, and we need to definitely take a lot of care about this. So the presentation goes further. Now I will talk about the parameters. To comprehensively cover this wide aspect, there were 3 parameters which were chosen, and the entire presentation is based on that. The analysis was based on it. We choose physical connectivity, how accessible physically this particular place is. And the second parameter was about personal experience, how the user experiences that space. And the third parameter is process and the context that the site particularly has to offer. In the research, as far as the accessibility is concerned, yes, this is a major concern that when you go around in the neighborhood, we check that whether how accessible this particular areas are, how it meets the needs of the various kinds of stakeholders which are expected to come there, and how those, and if you spend some more minutes, 15, 20 minutes more, you will start observing the pattern in which those spaces are utilized. You will find that the choice of the stakeholder himself decides where he wants to sit and which place will be used for what purpose. These are the clues which need to be picked up. And then you will find all these varieties of activities which are happening in such spaces. So the choice of the people is very important, and whether that space offers that. And if you will be able to observe this, we are able to capture the essence of such spaces. If you go to the website of United Nations, you will find that United Nations has this 360-degree wheel, where it says that these are some of the exercises which must be taken up in open spaces. We can bring in eco interventions, and that has to be with nature. This is their site. We have seen transformation of some spaces from narrow spaces of streets getting converted into urban habitats which are of significance. This is a schedule which is prepared by Atal Nagar. You can go to the website of Atal Nagar and you will see how the residents have come up with this. There is importance on women's inclusion in urban spaces. These are some of the slides which I'll just quickly run through, because this gives you an idea about simple cross-sections by way of which you can compare the neighborhoods. It categorizes various age groups and users. And one tip, when you design a space, many times what you design for doesn't serve the purpose for which it is designed. So we have to understand how the user is going to make use of it. A puddle at a broken tile is more important for a child than a slide in a garden. So these were some of the techniques which were used to survey and collect data. And these are the broad parameters listed out. I think to read through within the 5 minutes of slot, not possible, but I'll just run through these slides. There are all indicators. 2 minutes more or 1 minute. Yeah. And This is the parameter which is there, and this is the list of indices. I think if the checklist is taken up, it's a very elaborate checklist, but it is not complete as yet. It is still open for researchers to add more content to that. The context of the site which are taken up is two locations, if I have to broadly classify them. One on the top is a small public garden maintained by the local people, and then the other one is developed by the government. And if I have to mark my geographic location where I stay, at the midpoint of both. So I chose a vicinity, and this survey was done during the lockdown. So in these two sites, the best part is this is developed in the site 2, fantastic layout and done by the government. It looks beautiful. It is a part of City Beautiful movement. When all this analysis was captured by review from the local people, we found that the sense of satisfaction amongst a publicly maintained garden or maintained by the people was much higher than the number of requirements which that particular garden provided. So on a visual survey, on a surface, maybe it will appear that that other garden which is done by the government is very well organized, very well maintained, and it is a City Beautiful garden. The garden which is maintained by the people and for the people is actually having more amount of inclusivity. So I'll just quickly run through the last few slides. This is the survey data. These are the images of the garden. This is the site under reference. And conclusion probably I've already talked about. So although what looks beautiful may not be beautiful and may not be accepted by all. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Sorry to have to rush through everything, but we have a lot of participants, so I'm glad that all of you all are adhering to the time frame. And to Rajiv, sir, this is to inform that the question answer session will be after the end of all the presenters. So we will not be having the question answer after each participant. So please note down whatever points you have. And after all the presenters have finished presenting, then we start with the question answer session. We have asked the students also to note down any questions if they have, and they'll pass it on to the volunteers. That will be conveyed to you. In case you, so that you can moderate if the similar questions are there or if it's matching with what you have in mind. So you can ask them. So thank you, sir. Thank you very much. And we have our next presenter. Amrita. Amrita Manu, is she online?
Yes, she is.
Yeah, okay. The next presenter is Amrita. Please take over. Thank you. A big round of applause, audience, for her. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. Uh, I hope my slide is visible and I'm audible. I'm audible, ma'am?
Just a minute.
Yes, yes. I think we can hear you.
Yeah, thank you so much. Okay, I am architect Amrita Kakir.
Ma'am, 1 second, 1 minute. We have the time limit as 5 minutes. So after 5 minutes, the warning bell will be given. First warning bell will be given. After the 6th minute, the second warning bell will be given. And 7th minute will be the stop. You have to stop. So try to finish as fast as possible within 5 minutes. You can extend it up to 2 more minutes, but try to finish within the time limit. Thank you, ma'am.
With Professor Dr. Gauri Desai, my supervisor, presenting here with the topic on visual analysis of commercial streets in Pune. So, what is exactly street? Here, I'm trying to explain. The streets are the engine of economic activities. Road gives emphasis on movements of place, and primary purpose is throughfare of the traffic. So whenever we are talking about road and street, there is a basic difference. Like whenever we are talking about road, it will be full of traffic and uh, vehicles, but street will there will be equitable allocation of road space to all the users. This is the research background and purpose of study, wherein what is the exactly problem happening in the urban areas. I'm trying to explain here. So there is increasing number of population and urbanization increase, which leads to increase in the traffic and transportation and less number of public transportation or maybe poor management of that and lack of design of public realm and commercial street. It all leads to the lack of street character, which we can see. So this is the illustration of selected parameters for the study. I have gone through the extensive literature, and through the literature, area of examination, sub area of examination, and in the third column you can see the indicators for taken considered for this particular study. This is how the methodology is followed. Like in preliminary study, concept and theories, aim objectives were finalized, and finally the study in study area surveys and interviews of people have been done, and then the evolution happen. So these are the list of parameters gathered from the literature. This is the survey plan in which I have tried to accommodate different type of profile, like user profile, then activity mapping of that particular street, physical characteristics of the street, public space, infrastructural gap. I have tried to analyze through the existing data collection, and survey methods and tools are used are literature review, then survey, focus group discussions, and then analysis of selected case. So the study area for this particular study is taken in Pune. So in Pune, there are different commercial areas, out of which the newly developed commercial area as a Baliwadi High Street has been taken for the study, and it is highlighted in this map. So in this particular street, you can see that this is the detail of that street, wherein we can see the different squares and the different important junctions along the street, and Dasra Chowk and Ganesh Chowk, which are the highlighted important points which you can see here. Now coming to the street characteristics of that particular street. So each of the point is mapped in the given map. The street is more active for post 8 p.m. because this street is having some different character. Like it is made for very young generation, wherein we can see a lot of restaurants and high-end retail shops are there. So people or the youth crowd, you can see on this particular street. Weekend it is very much flooded, this street. So this type of land use is there. So we can see the certain class of people on this particular street. So Baliwadi High Street is a two-way street beginning from Amar business zone, leading to the Baliwadi Road. The road has footpath on either side, and the sidewalk are also there, and metro is also running. So the work is going on. This is the building use, wherein we can see there is major commercial use and residential is also there. Then built unbuilt proportion is also seen in the next map. The building density, herein we can see there are no buildings undergoing construction, so it varies from G plus 8 to G plus 12. So high dense buildings are there available there. The urban fabric is not dense as in the core city, if we see the Lakshmi Road or Kumthekar Road in Pune. But yes, the building heights are more, and the primary building typology is commercial and residential. So mixed land use is there, which is predominantly commercial and retail, and that too high end retail shops are there. Vegetation is marked on the below map, which we can see. So this is the public perception analysis taken from the people. So people had asked to rate each of the indicator from 1 to 10, and average score has been calculated, and total of the scores has been accommodated here in the total score. So all the parameters which I have taken from the case from the literature had been taken down to the different indicators, and each of that indicator, the pedestrians are requested to mark or rate each of the indicator. Then accordingly this score has been calculated. Then issues faced by pedestrians, this is the data gathered from survey. Also suggestions from the pedestrian, wherein we can see the better infrastructure, parking management, and then feeder network. So most of the people opted for कि there is poor feeder network. If we increase the feeder network, then the people may it may be convenient for people to visit the area. So accordingly, these are the perceptions gathered from the survey. This is the streetscape analysis done by the author himself, wherein we can see these are the parameters and indicators across each of the factors. These sometimes layman or the user may not able to rate the parameters, but the author herself, being architect, has rated all the parameters by doing the visual analysis and observation on the site. So this table includes the street parameter shortlisted from the literature and rated by the author from the visual survey. Average score is seen in the table, which is really less. So there is need of um, really need to improve the visual analysis or visuals in this particular area. So these are the key findings from the study. Baliwadi High Street is not accessible due to lack of public transportation options ranging from
Ma'am, you
auto
have
rickshaw
last
and
one
bus.
minute.
Yes, people preferring walking here only during night, although the walkways are found deserted at the day. The street furniture is in poor state, and the width of the footpath is sufficient, but still people are not preferring to walk, because I told ki the parking is there, and the crowd which is visiting that particular area is very high end crowd, having their personal vehicles. Balewadi High Street is quite rich in vegetation. It is due to a light land use, that is commercial and residential. Inadequate and poor streetscape is there, because there is no, sometimes we may not found is legible that particular area. The street is not designed keeping in mind the human scale. Street does not offer diversity. As per public perception, the Balewadi High Street lacks in street furniture and accessibility. So recommendation is like CCTV's surveillance, air control, traffic count sensors should be there. Then walking surface should have tactile pavers.
Ma'am, your
All
time is
signage.
up. You will have to stop.
Yes, yes. Okay, sir. I just need to complete. This is the last slide, sir.
Okay, ma'am.
So these are the total recommendations given for the particular study. So consistency in design, color, texture help to improve the visual continuity. Then well executed outdoor spaces can become the central focus of the area. So Balewadi High Street lacks in street furniture and accessibility. So provision and maintenance of street infrastructure will improve the pedestrian experience. And this is the conclusion. So significance of each intervention design determines its magnitude. It is widely accepted and acknowledged that there is not always a single best solution to city's problem. So it can be the tailor-made solution to each and every street. These are the references for my study. Thank you so much for your attention.
Thank you, ma'am.
Okay. Thank you, ma'am, for the presentation. I'm sure a lot of questions will come for it. The next presenter is Dr. Sheetal Sharma. Are you online, ma'am? She's on mute.
Sheetal, ma'am.
Hello?
Yes, sir, yes, sir, I'm here.
Okay, are you ready for presentation, ma'am?
Yes, sir, yes, sir.
Okay, as you know the rules, you have to present between 5 minutes. Within 5 minutes, the first warning bell will be given. So, second warning bell will be after the 6th minute, and in the seventh
Yes.
minute, you have to stop presenting at whatever point you are. Okay, okay, ma'am.
Yeah.
Okay,
Thank you
ma'am.
very much. And thank you, Rajiv sir, for being present here and listening to our presentations. I know all are very much educated, and my presentation is very small presentation in which I have just compared two cities for the user-friendly transportation policies taken by the smart cities of India. So I have just taken the case study of Bhopal. Hope my screen is visible. My screen is visible, ma'am?
Ma'am, you can begin with the presentation. It's visible.
Yeah. Okay. So it is the analysis of sensible and user-friendly smart cities. It is just a one-day tour to Bhopal city and one city in UK, in which they have taken the policies of the transportation as a smart perspective to their future cities. So the smart cities for Bhopal had been taken by our respected Prime Minister for making the city smart, and they had many pan areas and other areas converted. Considered for the development of the cities, in which infrastructure and the transportation is the main. And the smart city of Bhopal had projected that we will be giving some smart policy frameworks for the development of the Bhopal, like chartered bike system, smart parking, smart road, smart street, intelligent transport, etc. Here I start with my comparison that the another city which was in UK 15 years before take their policy as reducing the need to travel, applying the sustainable travel hierarchy, encouraging more journey on foot. So here we start the comparison of the policy framework itself. Implementation is at the later stage. And here is the poster given by the smart city of Bhopal, that they will be having the automatic gates, the bus stops, BRTS, and the traffic management system by guiding from the sensor based cameras, etc. But the final outcome which I have seen on the day of my visit is that The cities in UK which they have promised that yes, they will be traveling on foot and they will be assessing the wheelchairs in the bus also, they have maintained it. Whereas in Bhopal, the wheelchair person cannot even stand in that bus stand which is provided near the low floor buses. The name of this bus is low floor bus, but the bus stop which is made is at least 12 inches higher. Then we come to the vehicle movement. Okay, as you can see in the other cities, they have made the buses, which is the cost is same as the bus purchased by the smart city. But you can see on the left side that the buses are having the wheelchair movement, and the buses in Bhopal, the person has to sit on the chair and then he has to fold his wheelchair until the next stop comes. First of all, he is not able to access the bus also. Then comes the safety automated transport system. Yes, everybody will say me that the safety features are not working and not maintained, but the installation of these safety features is again a concern, because more than 60% of our old age people, not only physically handicapped, but more than 60% of their old age people are now fearing to travel in a day where there is more traffic, or where there is more people which are traveling through the public transports. Whereas in the developed cities, they have the counter systems, the automated vehicles, the elevators, and the ramps which are disabled friendly. Also, there are many other things which are available in the smart city Bhopal policies, which we have started just comparing with the policy level decision which went wrong somewhere, or which is late to the development process or planning process as per the real development which is going on in Bhopal. Obviously, there is no such cycle movement at right now, though the cycle tracks have been provided. But the cycle tracks, you can see in the figure that the cars are parked in the cycle tracks, and the cycle, the red lights and the green lights, that is, the passengers have to have no such signals for the cycling, and there are many accidents going on. So this is basically a very short comparison of the basic things provided, other than the green areas which were just dismantled and the 240 trees which were just broken to make the boulevard street. And it is very, I have not shown the picture here, but there is a boulevard street which is just ending in the front of a man's house, and the man has approached the court that since the boulevard street 80 feet wide is just stopping in front of my gate, the vehicles are coming very fast and dashing on his wall many times. So the conclusion is that transportation networks are changing quickly and frequently. The transportation system of today is very different from what it was just few decades ago. This is a paradigm shift, yes, but instead of being viewed as a value in or of itself, transportation is now viewed as a facilitator and for logistic movements. Many of the old age people are avoiding to travel not only in public transport but also in private vehicles, as the whole set of infrastructure. Even they reach the supermarket, there is a problem for them to reach the inside of the supermarket and other areas or the malls. So that's why when Bhopal city development policies were framed, I think the user friendly approach or the sustainable cities and communities, that is the goal number 11 from the SDG goals, could have been taken in a better way instead of making the boulevard streets and the other cycle tracks. I think this possibility was there, and this is the duty of the present architects, who those who are going to join in the near future in these fields, to consider all these things, the paradigm shifts, and use them in a better way. So Bhopal needs to focus on mobility that prioritizes the need of the customer first, and then obviously the energy and the environmental areas. And infrastructure planning is a combination of multiple disciplines, and its major application is for policy making and integrated planning. Like all the speakers are saying, that inclusive planning is the gist for the conference also. And yes, policy making itself, it should be so strong that the development doesn't get affected, and also the planning should run parallelly with the development, so that the development doesn't beat the planning policies due to the timeline difference. Thank you. I hope I'm the one to finish in 5 minutes.
Yes, ma'am. I was just going to say wow to you because you finished even before the bell rang. So thank you very much. And audience, a really big round of applause for her. She has managed her time. She not only managed the time but
Thank you.
has delivered all the contents very efficiently. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you. I'm sure a lot of questions will
Thank you
come
very
for
much.
you later on. Okay. So the next participant we have, presenter we have is architect Rajendra Tamhane. Sir, are you online?
Yes, ma'am, I'm online.
Okay, sir. Are you ready with your presentation?
Yes, yes, yes.
Okay. So as you know the rules, within 5 minutes, you have to try and finish. 6 minutes, second warning bell, and seventh will be the final bell.
Yes,
Okay, so you can
ma'am.
start now.
Yeah. Uh, am I audible?
Yes, sir, you're audible.
Yeah. Good morning, everybody. I am architect Rajendra Tamane, Professor Design Chair at Amity School of Architecture and Planning, Panvel. Okay. Good to see Rajiv Mishra ji here. Good morning, sir. Yeah. Uh, today,
Sir, can you
Sir,
please share
uh,
the presentation?
yes, yes, yes. Uh, I would like to thank Ravindra Sarnaik and the organizers for excellent conference. And I'll share my presentation now. Yeah. Is it visible?
Yes, sir, it is visible. You can proceed.
Yes, yes. So the topic for today, my topic is evaluating the impact of gated uh, residential colonies. Here, uh, gated communities is a term that refers to a large land area that is fenced or walled from all around individual housing buildings, and the amenities are inside. So, with the increase of crime rate over the years, residents today prefer a safe and secure home to live in, where visitors are also allowed, disallowed at the three security check-in points. So the methodology has involved survey also. That was a great part of it. So this is an illustration where a typical gated colony is shown. Early in history, where cities were built with walls around them and gates to secure the residents. So this philosophy is very old, which is related to human psychology for security and safety. So as you can see this illustration, there is a compound wall around and there are a number of buildings inside with a lot of amenities like garden, landscape garden, everything inside. So this is one case study of Kalpataru riverside at Panvel. This, as you can see from the Google Earth map, there are four buildings all around, and inside is the common amenities like swimming pool and garden and clubhouse and etc. So here 50% of the apartments are facing inside, whereas the 50% of the apartments are facing outside. Now this is actually a good feature which has come obviously by the constraints of planning, but it's a boon because during the survey it was found out that not all the people would like to face inside, because there are some pros and cons. Like inside, if the flats are facing, then the opposite building is also seen. The opposite people staying in the opposite flat, although there is a lot of distance, but they are seen. And there are some people who prefer privacy. There are some people who prefer privacy. So for them, the outside facing is a boon, and those who people who do not would like to have all this view and don't mind certain privacy restriction would definitely prefer the inside. amenities were present in Kalpatru Riverside, and 24% of the amenities were present in non-gated society. That means out of 50 parameters, 40 were present in Kalpatru Riverside, 9 were absent. In non-gated society, 9 amenities were present and 38 were absent. Now here, survey was taken across the age group, like children, millennials, generation, baby boomers, silent generation. And surprisingly, it was found that 100% of the people wanted gated society provided there is an option of that in their locality and it is within their budget. If these two criteria were met, then definitely 100% of the people wanted gated society to live in. That was a very important conclusion here. Now, out of the 50 amenities, 65 to 82% of the amenities were required by the people. Although not 100%, but yeah, 65 to 82%, depending on the age group of millennials, generation X, baby boomers, and silent generation. 65 to 80% of the amenities of the 50 amenities listed was wanted by them if they were given a chance. So we also find that some gated societies are designed
and after that there were material supply problem in the sites, and after all this struggle, when the sites got the permission to start, so there were no workers available, as well as there were material issues, raw material supply issues. So this made us look into the scenario of construction industry during
are also helping us in this case, and they are helping us in without physically accessing the cars and all. They are helping us to access the cars and training the people. So these things can also be incorporated at the construction site level. Of course, it will also be useful in building management, so that site management, labor camps, and food waste management can also be worked out, which generally comes at operational level, but construction level also can be incorporated. Concluding is the good practices are always there. Now they are already followed because of the norms. Technological interventions can come into the picture. Of course, some training will be required as a part of that, as an implementation policy of that. So as a conclusion, we would like to quote John F. Kennedy that in the crisis, be aware of the danger, repercussions, but at the same time, there are certain opportunities, so recognize them and be alert and focus on them. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. So with this, we finish with the presentations for the first slot. But since Rajiv sir couldn't see the PPT of Dheeraj sir, we are running the PPT once again for his reference.
Sir, would you like to come on stage and share, Dheeraj sir?
So the screen is visible?
Yes.
So this presentation basically breaks through two notions which are there. Like one is that migration. The urban population is on the rise due to migration. And we are made to think, or we are put into impression that migration happens from rural to urban. So that is the first. And second is that the urban communities are cosmopolitan. So when we look at the statistical analysis, we'll find that most of the migration happens from urban to urban area, like tier 3 to tier 2 or tier 1 to tier 1 migration, for a lot of reasons. And these are also surveyed, and this data is available on net. That's the first notion. And second notion is that the urban culture is cosmopolitan. There are individuals which are free individuals and a lot of different caste, creed, and they're staying together. But when they come and start staying together, they always form their own community base, and then that becomes a microcosmos or microcosm. And when there are studies also available on net where you will find that the open spaces and the kind of income group is also having a correlationship. So there are several such correlationships that we can establish. These are the list of parameters which UN has identified as the benefits of an inclusive open space. Once an open space is dealt with in a right context, then probably all these activities become possible for them. And the Maidan itself acts as the living room of the community. So the presentation, the research was on three segments. One was the physical access, the other was the personal experience of the people who are using that space, and the third was the process or the context. So as far as physical access is concerned, we can make a survey of the various open spaces around for how well they perform in terms of accessibility to cater to the needs of differently abled and various age groups and the sexes. So also interesting aspect is how socially they become accessible. There is also a selection. People select their own choice of space depending upon what kind of area they pick up to sit for themselves. The senior citizens find a space for themselves, small children find a space for themselves, even women and elderly population. So they have their own choice. So once observations are made, recorded, we gather that how people want to use those spaces which are there. And once that is done, we will be able to list out various activities that people undertake in such open spaces. And they are not just restricted only for jogging tracks or for movement spaces, but they are also meant to take up lots of recreational activities and therapies. Now, there is a long list of activities that can be taken up, identified by United Nations, and can be taken up by various neighborhoods. So this link is also available on the slide, and if you click on that, it will take you to the page which will give detailed insight. So as far as technological intervention is concerned, use of eco-sensitive interventions which are making their mark by touching the planet very lightly and bringing in the change which is required as in terms of solar lamps or things like this. There is also a study of similar line of thought by United Nations where they talk about densities and open space relationships, economic groups and their relationships. So this is not a new subject, but it needs deeper delving so that we are able to correlate. There is one example of one of the spaces in Bhopal where the street was transformed by participation of the local people, where they built what they wanted, and it changed the way the street appeared and how it performed. There is this example of Atal Nagar, where the community has come together and prepared a annual calendar because they know their climate, season, flowers, and the festivals. So they have made this as an annual calendar of activities for their community. So this is the process and context component where gendering is very important. We have to have gender-centric spaces. We have to make detailed studies on how the women feel comfortable and how they are made to feel about that particular space and how they can correlate to the utilization of spaces. Sometimes these open spaces are surrounded by truck parks and then some panwalas are there. So that becomes male gender-specific spaces. So we have to know how the gendering of space happens around them. These are some of the cross sections for various age groups. So if you just study the landforms, this was background study for the research. So if we just study the landforms which exist, we will be able to know how various age group of people will be utilizing such open spaces. And many times the designed element fails and the undesigned works. So if the research is involved in making these observations about how people make utilization of spaces, probably a lesser designed area will be more efficient. I had given an example of a broken tile creating a puddle for a child is more inviting to jump than a well-kept slide in a garden. So these were some of the methodologies which were chosen. These are from the book of Jan Gale, who talks about how to study life in public places. And through that, this was a 2-year-long survey which was done online during the lockdown period. And these are the list of parameters which were taken up. Some of the components came from United Nations, the related other studies, and also from local observations, and an elaborated list is prepared. This is open for addition, alteration by the other researchers, and this became the benchmark also for the question air which was created for this particular project. So these are the lists on the 3 parameters, spatial performance. The case studies which were taken up are from the 2 sites which are in vicinity of my own home. I am situated right at the midpoint of both the sites. One is on the top is a small garden maintained by local housing society, which is more than 25 to 30-year-old, and the other one is maintained by the MCGM, and it's a well-developed garden. So this is the first site which is maintained by the people there, Mandapeshwar ground, and the other one is a well-designed garden space which is meant for larger than the local community. So the local community is actually denied that particular open space. If some portion of this was left for them and this garden would have been developed, I think it would have served a dual purpose. So out of the survey, it was found that the sense of satisfaction amongst the local population with the open space was much higher when they were involved in the place-making process and they were making the changes. Their tolerance levels was also much higher. A lower maintained tile or a plaster was more disturbing to a MCGM garden, but a lesser maintained garden space was not disturbing for the local inhabitants. They said it has to be like that because it is natural. In monsoon, the tile is supposed to get wet. So children have to know how to walk on such surfaces. So the tolerance level also goes higher and the sense of satisfaction as an outcome also goes higher. So when you see happier faces for some participatory events happening in the other garden, we see the satisfaction actual level which is there is only coming out through a survey, and survey from the right kind of stakeholders, knowing them personally and talking to them. So these are their shared experiences. So what probably looks good may not actually work well, and it's a beautiful movement, although it will be beautiful in various aspects. But if it isn't serving the society at large, if it is not catching the pulse of the people, it fails to be an inclusive design. So this was the conclusion, and that's the last slide. Thank you, sir, for giving me the opportunity to present again.
Thank you, sir. Rajiv sir, now with this, the presentations are completed. You can start with the question answer session.
Sir, you can begin with the question answer session, sir.
Shall I begin?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so I think after hearing 4 speakers talk about the various subjects, I'm sure it must have created excitement amongst the audience to know more about what they presented. I have been seeing this presentation with a lot of attention on their conclusion slide. So thank you, Amruta. Thank you for bringing in the visual experience of Pune city. Thank you, Sheetal, for talking about the transportation network and its importance. Thank you, Dheeraj sir, for making us realize that when people use their spaces as their own, they learn to be patient with it and enjoy it more. So there is a sense of belonging. Then I think the purpose of utilization changes. And Rajendra ji, who actually presented gated communities, presented a different idea where everybody is not only looking for a home, but a lifestyle and a safe lifestyle, where one is sure that their children and family at home is safe and that they will get everything that they want within their gated community instead of they wanting to go out to fetch all these services. So, with such a good palette of information, knowledge being shared, we will be very happy to take questions for the speakers directly, or you could route the questions through us so that we can put it up to the experts to answer. So, I do not have access to the audience, but I think I can take up the questions. Those who cannot ask questions can send messages. Perhaps we can take the messages. We have this in call message facility, so you could write there and we could take it. Yeah? If there are no questions, then I will be asking questions to the presenters.
Is there
That
any
would be a
questions
better
from
way
the
to look at
audience?
it.
Sir, you can ask
So
questions.
shall no, I will be asking questions to the presenters, but let us wait for the questions coming from the audience to the presenters,
Okay, sir.
so that we will basically first see whether the question being asked is relevant. If it is relevant, we will give it to the speakers. So amongst the audience, they are free to write down if they do not want to ask questions by coming on the screen.
So audience, is there any question that you would like to ask any of the presenters till now? Because sir is waiting for you all. If not, then he will continue.
No, I think asking the right question is more important than getting whatever answer you get. Right?
Sir, as of now, though
Yeah, so I
nobody's
think
coming up. Maybe once you start, they might come up. So in case it does, we will convey the same to you. You can start, sir.
So you can proceed with your question, sir.
okay, then I think I will go ahead by asking first question to the visual experience of Pune city. So Amruta, I think thank you very much for your presentation. I like the way you have analyzed the visual experience of a street. Are you there, Amruta?
Yes, sir.
So, you can open up your video screen so that you can have an eye contact with the person who is asking you the question. Because after all, it is visual experience. No?
Yes, sir.
So, I basically wanted you to know. I have studied in Pune. I know every lane in Pune. Yeah, I
Okay.
know Sadashiv Pet, I know MG Road.
Mhm.
So, this question is coming from a person who has lived in Pune. So, for me, what was your basis of choosing this street in spite
Yes.
of the street in Pune?
Yeah, sir. Actually, this street was a newly formed retail streets in Pune, which was having some particular character. If we see core area of the city, then it is having some different character altogether, and you will find different types of user who are or visitors, you may say, visiting that particular area,
Right.
uh, ranging from low income group to high income group. So there will be very diversified profile of visitors who will be visiting that area. So that is one part, and this area, it is a very much upcoming new area of the Pune city, which is having a particular age group, and which is high-end commercial area. And despite of having good pedestrian infrastructure, still people are not preferring to walk on that particular street. So what are the probable reasons for that? That I would like to understand, and that is why I have selected this particular area. And with my study, I understood that there are people who are preferring their own vehicles, mostly car, to visit this particular area. A lot of youth crowd is there because there are pubs, discs, and also high-end retail shops. So people prefer to come by their personal vehicle, because maybe paratransit systems and public transport is not very much suitable in that area. And now metro line is upcoming in that area, so they are developing it. So maybe the picture will change after the metro will be in I mean, it will start.
You know, you were talking about visual experience of the
Yes.
street being enjoyed by people.
Mm.
But do you think that if there is an art program for the street, if there is an art installation on the street,
Mm.
if there is a civic artist brought into the street where he is demonstrating anything that people love to do with
Mm.
them, how do you engage people on the street is equally important besides the visual experience. You know,
Yes, yes,
things may look good, but things should also work. Right?
yes.
Now you yourself said that the public transport is not good, so people come by their own private vehicle, right?
Or may not prefer, like I have told ki the class of infrastructure which they have developed on that particular street, it may not be affordable to all user group, likewise in Lakshmi Road or Kumthekar Road.
Yeah, but then coming to this place by a public transport can be done. No? It doesn't matter whether they use the street necessarily, but the idea is that they can come to this place by a public transport connectivity will open this street to the people of the or the citizens of the city, right? The restriction is not there. People find it restrictive by not coming because the provisions of coming to this place are restrictive. I
Hmm,
think that is
hmm.
the point. So I
Yes.
think what you have been very nicely put up is any street with a good visual experience should be accessible to the citizens of that city so that they can think of doing repetition of these visual experiences in other part of the city.
Yes.
You know, there is a group in our city which is related to old age accessibility. There are many people who don't go to these places because accessibility issues are not addressed, because there is no area where old people can come together to enjoy.
Yes.
Because sometimes visual experience is related only to the youth. I think that is what is a myth. Maybe in your research you should, also emphasize age groups where
Okay.
your visual experience should intermingle and also converge into zones of experiences. That is
Okay.
what makes visual experience
Hmm, hmm.
a place to.
Yes.
And this could become a planning guideline. This could be given to the municipal corporation of the city, where you would be happy to know that currently the municipal commissioner is an architect by qualification. His name is Vikram Kumar. So you could actually show this to your town planning department teacher, where you did town planning, and you could present it to him. So I think it would be a wonderful idea
Yes.
of taking it ahead.
Yes, sir.
So I think when you saw Dheeraj sir's presentation, you must have seen how people participation
Hmm.
with a sense of belonging to an open space can change the entire scenario. Similarly, if the visual experience of the street is thrown to the people
Hmm.
and citizen, they will make it even more exciting. Right?
Yes.
Because excitement, as has been brought up, is a little different. Because even if your visual experience is good, in pandemic nobody will visit it. No, that is the point.
Yes. Yes.
So the idea is, how do you make this visual experience full of music, full of art, full of experience? In New York City and in Barcelona, they actually do it. They have music playing. And I
Yes.
think that is what Rajendra was trying to prove when he showed few neighborhoods of Barcelona where gated communities were planned, but then it was thought to be very exclusive. It was not very inclusive, right? Similarly, your street and the open spaces presented by Dheeraj sir and the gated community, until they become inclusive, they'll be restrictive, exclusive, and only for few people to enjoy. So it looks like few citizens only will be able to take benefit. And lastly, maybe Sheetal, can you open your video? Dr. Sheetal, what you should do basically, your transport network or public transportation, you know, that is the best thing to happen to any city. But as long as people don't use it and don't feel like using, it is
Yes.
not a success. Your BRT or any transportation exercise that you do, connecting people to waste less time commuting, will work only when it is efficient. Right?
Yes.
The
True.
need of people not using their private vehicle is the key to the success of public transport.
Yes. Yes.
But public transport can actually be a great leveler in the city. It doesn't matter whether you are a peon or a managing director. If both of you are using public transport, both of you are working for the growth of that city. And both of you are concerned about the pollution level in that city. You are contributing together to save the fossil fuel, which otherwise would have been wasted by using your personal
Personal vehicles.
two-wheelers or car. I think public transport is a concept and an emotion that people must realize as citizens, that they are helping their city to be a better place, thereby saving a lot of traffic congestion. I think if people start realizing that they should use public transport for the benefit of their city, more people will use it. People look at public transport as a facility not working well.
Yes.
And I think every citizen of every city can demand to the local government to give them a good public transport. There is a very famous saying, to all, I would like to say, speakers, that, a city is a place where if you grow up, it helps you decide what you want to become. So if you are deciding to design good visual experiences, if you're designing good open spaces, if you're designing good public transport, maybe the people living in those cities as they grow up may do something even more better when they grow up, right, to contribute it to become better. So I would agree with, growing up in Bhopal is different than growing up in Pune.
Yes.
Okay? But both Pune and Bhopal can become great cities. The urban population of Pune and Bhopal wanting to come to Bombay, where there is no open space even to play, is not a good idea. Yeah?
Yes.
So in these three presentations, I can see the link as to why people of Bhopal, Pune, and Bombay. I am not counting Rajendra Tamane's Navi Mumbai because it is an extension of Mumbai metropolitan region. So I consider it as the same thing. Is so important that your sustainable development goals for which you are actually doing this presentation are not being met, right? I was very fortunate to study at a place called Bouwcentrum at Rotterdam, called the Institute of Housing Studies, where about 50% of our teachers were working in the United Nations Center for Human Settlement, UNCHS, and any country which is able to even do 50% of the sustainable development goals for the citizens, they are actually going towards success. Okay, they are actually moving towards success. So I think ultimately, of all the presentations done, which sustainable goal, okay, 711 or 11.7 as you have mentioned it, are not being fulfilled, and what you think as part of transportation, as part of visual experience and beautification, as part of the ratio of open spaces to the population can be met. In Bombay, you have 0.003 hectare area per thousand population. The ratio is 4 hectare per thousand population as per the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. But I guess it is not being met. So in Bombay, in spite of all the adversity and high price land values, you still are having maidans where you can interact, talk to each other, and saving them for the benefit of its citizens is more important than earning a lot of money by staying in them. So I would ask one question to all the panelists, and this is what could be, at the end of it, and this is open also to Rajendra Tamane. If you get a young data scientist, okay, data scientist, by the way, is a professional who is the highest paid professional in the world. Okay, data scientist is now a position in the world for which you can earn maximum remuneration wherever you go in this world. So if a data scientist wants to come and stay and work, and if he is asked that you have positions in Bhopal, Pune, Navi Mumbai, and maybe Borivali and Bombay, which place will he study, or which place you think he will choose to come and work as data scientist? Whether it is Bombay, New Bombay, Pune, or Bhopal. According to you, what do you feel? Though Amruta may give the best visual experience, though Dr. Sheetal may get the best public transport for Bhopal, though Rajendra Tamane through his gated community gives the best housing facilities, and though the Maidans of Bombay may offer an exhilarating experience of community feeling, where do you think this data scientist should go and establish himself for work? What should he prefer? This question is open to all the four panelists.
The first preference is obviously the income.
Yeah, if your income is taken care of, but if you live in a city and get a heart attack and spend 3 lakhs in hospital ICU, then it is not a good place to go and stay. No, that is what I meant. So, if you were to look at health, if you were to look at experience, if you were to look at the environment, if you were to look at the sense of belonging, if you were to look at visual experience, if you were to look at minimum commuting to place of work from place of stay, what do you think data scientists should do? Should he work from home in a gated community, Rajendra Tamane?
Uh,
I'm just asking you this question. What I'm trying to get at is,
yeah.
after having 4 presentations in mind, what do you think should we tell the data scientists that you should stay here for the following reasons? Because these are your conclusions of the presentation.
There are two aspects actually to your question. One aspect is that as on the basis of my survey, the first survey, where 100% of the people of the 50 preferred gated community.
Yeah.
So on basis of that, he would prefer uh, gated community provided uh, it is available in his preferred locality. So that is the most important thing because gated communities today are very less in number because as it is, Mumbai does not have very large lands available. And even if they are available, there are no developers who are ready to put in such a big budget and wait for that much time for selling. So those who have the holding capacity, only large developers venture into the gated communities.
No, then my question is very simple, Rajendra ji.
Yes, sir.
Whether the data scientists would like to live in a gated community in Bombay, Bhopal, or Pune. It
I,
doesn't matter.
I,
Let him live in a gated community.
yes. I would think he would prefer Mumbai because provided it has good connectivity, good broadband connectivity, and all the amenities if he gets, then
Ah,
definitely will prefer Mumbai.
because I think ultimately it is the experience and connectivity that would.
Yes. His work should be done in without any hindrance. So
Ah.
those are the things he would probably look into.
Yeah, so there is another parameter. I think there is another parameter that has now come now, is the connectivity and the sustainability and the continuity of his sense of belonging. It doesn't matter where you do what, right?
Yes.
Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, that's perfect.
So, would you promote gated communities now in cities
It will.
as part of your conclusion?
Yes,
As part of your
yes. I would definitely provided the land is available, provided the budget is available. It depends all these things, but in the right situation and right circumstances, definitely yes.
yeah, okay, okay, okay. I think you have a similar answer, Dr. Sheetal, to this
Yes,
data science.
yes, I would like to add some more one or two parameters. It also depends upon you have not mentioned the age of that data scientist. Since since
They are always young.
no no
People age
my
people
family is
my
having a data scientist who is now 68 years old.
68.
68. He has just returned from Glasgow only, and now I did the study this because recently he has went through the knee replacement operation.
Oh, great. So where is he staying?
Bhopal.
Okay. City of
So we
six. Ah,
we took this survey just because of making the convenient transportation of this person to his office space.
okay.
So we tried all the options: Uber, his own car, buses, and other vehicles. But somewhere he could not reach the office space. Even if he reached the office space, he was not able to climb up to the infrastructural facilities on the fifth and the fourth floor.
Oh, okay, great.
So this again, the age factor will be much more responsible
So
for deciding the things.
okay. So it doesn't matter which city, age matters. Huh?
Age also matters. Maybe he's having some one eye is having low vision also. So we
Okay.
consider only wheelchairs, but there is another disabled friendly
No,
things
so
happening.
my data scientist is 33 in
Hmm.
age. Would you prefer Bhopal to Bombay or to Pune?
Yes, Bhopal can be preferred. Yes,
Rajiv sir,
Better than
if I
yes.
may interrupt, sorry sir,
So
but
there is,
uh,
I I
could
think
you
there is
take
one more.
yes sir, yes sir.
There is I find that there is one more important criteria, and that is the traffic situation of that area, which
Ah,
is very much important.
yeah.
Sir,
So
one
I
more
think
point. Yeah,
yeah.
sorry.
No, go ahead.
One more point I feel is like work from home culture. If he's working from home, then he may work from any city. It doesn't matter to him. Only the
Right.
broadband connectivity and better room with its acoustics can also work. So
Uh,
this
which
is
is
also
which is best in Pune.
yes, yes, sir, definitely.
No, I guess work from home is a culture that basically reduces commuting time.
Hmm.
But work from home culture
Hmm.
does not bring in healthy output because you must have recently heard the man who bought Twitter, the
Hmm.
owner of Tesla, he has cancelled all work from home activity of his
Yes.
office.
Hmm.
And he has also told his employees that those who wish to work from home are terminated from their service if
Terminate.
they don't come to office. Yeah?
Hmm.
So work from home is something that you do in emergencies under unusual situation. I think the feeling of coming together to work so that decisions can be unanimously taken
Hmm.
for the benefit of common good has been always preferred and celebrated.
Yes.
Work from home is something that have to do under say, emergencies until you meet together somewhere. It's like that.
Rajiv
But
sir,
I think,
if I may
yeah.
interrupt, sorry sir, but could you take the question answers a bit fast, because there are four more participants waiting to present the papers. So if you could address
Okay, so
each presenter and have specific questions, it would be helpful for all of us, sir.
okay, so I think yeah. So then we can ask questions. Is the audience waiting to ask them questions?
No, sir. As of now, though, nobody's come up with any questions. So, if you have any specific, as you have
Okay.
seen the presentations and you must have taken down some points or note, so any specific questions as such regarding each presenter, that would be very helpful, sir.
So, yeah. So for me, this session was very interesting because I could get four ideas, and my question was, where would data scientists go? So if there are any other questions anybody has, I will be very happy to take them and discuss it.
You have a
So
question.
are there any questions? Is there any questions from each other's panelists to each
Sir,
other?
sir, Dheeraj sir has one question.
I just wanted to answer
Yep.
from my side. If I would have
Yeah,
been
please.
I would take it like that. If I would have been the data scientist, I would have chosen Bhopal. Luckily, I have experienced all the three cities. And when that
Ah,
was my first visit to Bhopal and I was traveling in the city, I asked them, यहाँ traffic jam नहीं होता है क्या? They said no, our city does not have a traffic jam because we can go from multiple routes to wherever we want to go. Then
good.
somebody showed me a very large lake, and then I said, "Does your city have water supply problem in summers?" They said, "We have ample amount of
Yeah.
water supply. Water shortage is something that Bhopal people doesn't know." I said, wow. Then I asked them the third question. How long will it take us to reach the venue? Anywhere in Bhopal you can reach in 15 minutes. So you can get into the city and get out of the city in 15 minutes. And if Mumbai is a city which is multiple Bhopal in one, I think I would retire, I will work, and I will survive in the city like Bhopal, which has lakes and which has got nature around. So you can drive into the city at the core, and another 20 minutes you are out of the city in the periphery, and it's a wow factor life. So by all means, Bhopal is the city to live. Yes, network and electricity will be a factor, but I would make a choice that this is abundantly available, and in a society which has solar powered cells. If not, I will plant one in my own home so that this connectivity should not be an issue. And one point of difference with Tamane sir, as far as my experience of Mumbai city is concerned, entire city lives in gated communities. Only thing is that these gated communities are not visible and they only surface on special occasions like Ganesh Utsav. जितने गणेश मंडल बनते हैं, जितने गणेश पंडाल लगते हैं, वो सब एक गेटेड कम्युनिटी है. जितने गरबा के लिए अलग अलग जगह पर लोग गैदर होते हैं, वो एक अलग गेटेड कम्युनिटी है. और सबसे बड़ा उत्सव जो यहाँ पर होता है शिव जयंती का, शिवाजी जयंती के दिन जब हम लोग मिलते हैं तो हर चौराहे पर गेट्स बनाए जाते हैं. Those gates suddenly become visible and then everybody celebrates together. In fact, even in the holy festival, the community celebrates together, and think we all are living in gated communities. I just want to ask Tamane sir one question that he should be asking those people who are making these gated communities. Why don't they open those floodgates of gated communities for all the common people around? Let no one be deprived, because we have one planet and limited resources. Thank you.
Yeah.
Good to see Dheeraj sir here.
No, I basically want to conclude this session because I think you have other sessions coming up. I will just tell you how Citibank decides its venue or city or selects it before establishing their regional center all over the world. I had a word with the important person of Citibank. He is an Indian. He's from Nagpur. And I asked him, on what basis did you decide a city in any country where you open a branch? And you know what he said? We look at sustainable development goals parameters. We find out sustainable goal index for a particular city. Whichever city has a maximum marks of Sustainable Development Goal Index being met, we establish our office in that city. The Citibank headquarters in India is located at Chennai, because at that time Chennai was offering the best parameters of sustainable development goals. So I think what we can conclude here is that all city must strive not only to become smart but also to achieve sustainable development goal parameters so that it can offer the best urbanism or quality of life to its urban citizens. Unfortunately, what is happening is that the degree the degree of informal housing decides the degree of migration to it. Okay, so you will be surprised to know that more than 55% of the population living in the city of Bombay lives in unhygienic conditions, inadequate housing, and slum-like conditions. In spite of that, people want to migrate to Bombay and not go to Pune and Bhopal because people are coming to cities for jobs. They are not coming for housing. They are not coming for good living. And that is what is not very nice for the citizens of any country. So I guess any place where sustainable development goals are being met, the maximum index and parameter should become the ideal place. And therefore our presentations are in tune to those achievements and experiences that we are sharing with each other so that we learn from them and make our achievement for goals even better. But thank you very much for inviting me for this program. Thank you very much all the panelists for presenting their work and sharing their experiences of all kinds. And I'm sure there is a great learning for all the students who joined.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you everybody.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Rajiv sir. That was very enlightening to everybody, and I'm sure all the audience and all the participants will take a lot of knowledge from what you have been trying to say and stressing upon the need for of the hour. Thank you, everybody, for this. A big round of applause for Rajiv sir and his presence and taking valuable time to come and be here. Thank you very much, sir. Before we start to the second session of the paper presentation, I think Aditi ma'am wants to say something.
डाउनलोड करके एक प्रोजेक्ट होना चाहिए. Hello. From research and publications cell of TSAP, we have opened our blog page, and few students and staff have uploaded their blogs on this blog page. So some students who have published their blogs on this blog page, we are distributing certificates to them. So I think students, those who are present here in this call, please come forward and distribute. I request Shilpa ma'am. I request Shilpa ma'am to come here and distribute the certificates to all the students. नहीं पहले ये सीक्वेंस है ये देखना. हाँ ये थर्ड नंबर का पेज थर्ड नंबर का निकाल दो. Yeah. Uh, Harina Kalia, is she present? Is she present in the hall? She is from BVOC, third year. Yes. Oh, somebody. ये नहीं होगा. Okay. Somebody, yeah. Harina Kalia, she has written her blog that is a FICA, slow down and appreciate the good, story of interior designer. This blog she has published in 8 May 2020, that was a COVID period. But is she there? Okay. Yes. ये sequence से लगा दो. One, yeah, okay. Yes. The, the second one is Sejal Desai. Phone number. The second is Sejal Desai. She is also from BVOC, third year. The title of her blog is Pandemic Time to Introspect. The third is Disha Salotra. Title of her blog is Human Nature and Divide Connection in the Rice Fields, Ubud in Bali. So she has published her blog on 16th May 2020. She is a BR student, final year BR student. The fourth is Adiba Salema. Is she present in the hall? Great. The title of her blog is Carbon Footprints and Interior. She has published her blog on 4th June 2022. She is a third year BVOC student. The fifth is Sonia Gaude. Is she present? Yes. The title of her blog is Range to Adapt. She has published her blog on 8 September 2022. She is a third year BR student. And sixth is again Disha Salotra. The title of her blog is Demystifying Architecture of architect Daniel Lepskind. So she has published this blog on 12 September 2022. She is again final year BR student. So all the students, your blogs are also welcome on our college blog page, and you might see such certificates once the blog is published. So this is a motivation and inspiration for you all. Okay, thank you so much.
Anything else? No, that is, but हो गया ना आपका शुरू करना.
कब तक आज यूसर का कॉल आया था.
Hello? Hello? Okay. Hello, everybody. We now start with the second session of the paper presentations.
Hello.
Can I have your attention, audience, and everybody present in this room? Thank you. Please settle down. Okay. I, architect Kavita, on behalf of ICISDG and TSAP, welcome you all to the second session of the paper presentation. This session is going to be chaired by Dr. Shilpa Sharma. She is the HOD at Rachana Sansad's Academy of Architecture, UA, Mumbai. She has been practicing and teaching in the field of architecture and design for over 2 decades. She also believes in research and as the basis of any design endeavor. She is currently a key member of the Journal of the Indian Institute of Architects. She also coordinates the research and review processes for the IIA National Awards. A very big warm welcome to Shilpa ma'am. Come on, audience. Let's see the Josh in you and give her a big round of applause. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you for taking your valuable time out and attending this session. So we have 4 participants for the next session, and the question answer session will be after all have presented. So we would like to emphasize that since there is a bit of a time constraint, you restrict your questions to around 3 to 4 per person and have the specific questions as such. I'm sorry to be having to tell you all this, but because of the time limits and we have to wrap up within the given time. So that's it. And we have asked the audience to note down the questions if they have any and pass it on through the volunteers to you. So in case you get any questions, just moderate them, and because 2-3 questions might be of the similar nature. So it's up to you to decide which question to take or not, depending on the seriousness or the importance and relevance to the presenters. So with that, without any further ado, we start with the presentation. The first presenter is architect Isa Sheikh and Rakhi Vishwakarma. A big round of applause for them all. Thank you.
Hello, hello.
Good morning, everyone. Our research paper is based on SDG Goal 3, which focuses on good health and well-being. It is written by architect Isa Sheikh, architect Pooja Gati ma'am, Dilshin Kaur from 4th year, and Rakhi Vishwakarma from 4th year. So as we know, the good health and well-being targets majorly issues like child health, maternal health, and reflection on various diseases like COVID-19. But it lacks the focus on mental health. So as an architect, it is our duty to fill the gap and understand the issues that are related to mental health in the urban environment. As we know, rest of the SDG goal also focuses on proposals rather than implementation on actual life. So SDG goal 3 about good health and well-being are indirectly implemented throughout our day-to-day life. Like the conversation starters, how are you, kaise ho, and kasakai. So happiness, which leads to well-being, happiness of individual. But what about the happiness of the whole city?
Right. So taking this ahead, we were actually thinking, ki what happens to the happiness of the city? And the Dilshan comes and says to me, ki why don't you go and hear this radio which talks about Kasakai Mumbai? And the statement itself brought her to a question, ki is it going to be asking a question to individual or to everyone as a Mumbaikar? We realized is they were actually capturing the episode where they were talking about the mental health of the citizen itself. They were asking questions to the Mumbai authorities, to the urban think tanks, and to the planners. It got our interest there. We realized they were actually talking about what is a meaningful interaction, what is the social cohesiveness, and also they were asking various questions regarding the DCR. I always thought it's only architect's job, but I realized it's everywhere. Later on, they actually talked about what is exactly a man's criteria and how man is supposed to be a social animal. And always they were supposed to be like talking to each other, having their doubts solved, having the stress solved, having everything in their life resolved.
The cities of the world are ranked according to their happiness ratio, where Helsinki and Finland ranks 1, whereas Mumbai is 92nd, right next to cities like Dhaka and Cairo. Um, as per reports, city inhabitants have a 40% higher risk of depression, 20% more anxiety, and this is major cause for suicide among the teenage and working class.
This led us to our abstract, where we were actually thinking about what is the mental stress which is happening in the city and what are the DCRs which are allowing it. Are our DCRs supposed to be like designed in a way where the socialness is ordered or no? We went with the sampling and we understood most of our public spaces. Is it like really, really open for a woman at any time? Or is it open to various community which is coming to Bombay at various kind of a income group or something? Is it allowed for them only, or because of privatization, they have been restricted? We also try to understood what is a different age group, like children, disabled person, old people, are they are easy to use, the public space are ready for them or not?
Then we understand the Mumbai DCPR bilateral understanding of it. According to URDPFI guideline, each city of India supposed to be, each person should have 10 to 12 square meter, but in Mumbai, Mumbai has abysmal open space of 1.08 meter square per person.
The DCR also talks about various actions like Mumbai climatic action, but it never talks about the mental health. We actually try to understand ki even if the open space ratio in Chandigarh is so much, why it is not on the list? We raised the question again, is it only about the quantity or is also about the quality? And what happens to the public space? Are they all social or no? Then, which leads to our research question, is mostly to examine the relation with the development control regulation on the mental well-being of a citizen. Our research objectives were quite simple. We did a sampling method. We experimented many things. The parameters that impacted the social space and its special effect or the mental health, we came up with this toolkit. We actually named it as a Brahmastra, but what happens is this. We actually minded the gap has been the defined form of a framework. We also understood was the comfort level, safety, visual connection, social inclusion, emotional nourishment, resiliency, community involvement, design aesthetic, and maintenance. And trust me, last 3 has been done by the students when they actually went on site and they came up with the option, ki, sir, we really need to add last 2 things in our kind of a parameters because this is not actually gaining the whole momentum. We have tried to define this in our paper also. Our scope was very limited with the daytime, also with the resources, also with the funding. We actually just selected only one kind of a neighborhood, that is Bandra, and we tried to understand all these parameters, whether it is applying or not. Like, we just wanted to understand whether a Brahmastra is working or not. So very first thing we selected as a public space.
So the first area that we selected was Bandra Reclamation, as it lies between the commercial and the residential zone. So Bandra Reclamation experiences a lot of footfall, but they have discrimination between their accessibility and maintenance issues. Here are few of the pictures that will help you determine the area.
Even though it is magnanimous in scale, the quality of spaces were not found up to the mark. We also went and understood the residential spaces where the socialness in the chawl is not being seen in the newer upcoming projects because of the balconies, because of the staircases, which is supposed to be a socially very interactive part. Again, we went to the BKC. We tried to understand the whole layout of BKC, and we found out it doesn't work after 8 o'clock or might be on Sundays. It becomes totally deserted, something like this. Then we came on the conclusion, apart from telling everything, कि Bombay, making like a urban planners thinking about the DCR, they doesn't actually come out with the issue of understanding the whole mental awareness thing. Hence, it is actually concluded by even the Charles Korea, कि it's really a great city, but it's quite terrible place to stay in. Thank you, but just to continue this thing, this is actually a loop which we are trying to question every time. This is a never-ending process. And also, this comes to our first slide regarding the SDG goal. What are we going to do according to it? We are going to make a toolkit which can be helped to make a kind of a development, which is also used by the student or might be the urban planners, which can help them to design something better. I think so. 5 minutes for two of us, right? Okay. Okay. So next time, what happens is like whenever there is a conversation starter with all these things, please make sure what Bollywood teaches you.
All is well.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'm sure the audience is quite amused with the inferences that you have made. And they will have a lot of questions, hopefully, given that you have inferred to their favorite movies and actors. So, yes, audience, please write your questions down and pass it on. The next presenter we have is Aditi Srikhande. She's online.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, ma'am, welcome. As you know the rules, you have 5 minutes to present. After that, after 5 minutes, a warning bell will be given. 6 minute, another second warning bell, and by the 7th minute, you have to stop under any circumstances. So go ahead, ma'am.
Can you see my screen and am I audible?
You're audible and the screen is also on.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Aditi Srikhande, student of interior designing from Amit University, Mumbai. Today, I'll be talking about understanding gender inequality in built-in wardrobes. As we all know, Goal 5, gender equality, which means that it tends to achieve empowerment of all women and girls. And gender equality being a human right, we get an opportunity to choose our lifestyle, career without any discrimination. But do you think gender equality should be limited up to career choices and life choices? According to me, it's a no. Gender equality should not only focus on women and girls, but all the genders in the world. There are no two people with similar lifestyle and choice of attires, which eventually means that variation in size and the layout of the wardrobe. Built-in wardrobes are the wardrobes which cannot be moved, and it is designed once according to the requirement of the client. Whereas we as designers need to understand that the client is the main requirement while designing the layout of the built-in wardrobes. Gender neutrality is making a big impact in fashion, and no one is felt left out. Moving understanding the gender's lifestyle helps us to know which clothes can be folded and which are required to be hanged. And most importantly, the accessories, shoes, bags, different types of uh, requirement of the different of the different genders. And moving forward to the methodology, there were two surveys conducted. One was online and one was empirical survey. Firstly, to conduct this internet survey, movable wardrobes, to understand the advantages and disadvantages of both the wardrobes while using. It also helped us to clarify how the users get affected by the design of the wardrobe because the genders are not being considered while designing. Talking about the empirical survey, this empirical survey actually helped a lot while doing this research, as a full-length wardrobe which is made for a female client, it becomes very difficult for a female client to access the overhead cabinets and the shelves. According to the men's, there should have been more hanging space, and the formal clothes are supposed to be hanged, whereas we as Indians, we have more of shelf storage as compared to hanging storage. And also females find issue in storing their accessories, jewelries and handbags. Each stuff owned by different genders should find its place in the closet, and it should be easily accessible, identified and movable. Whereas built-in wardrobes as designed ones, we as designers are considering requirements as more important aspect. Whereas the client's height, body type, the interests of the clients are not considered while designing, which makes it more difficult for the user to use it. Moving forward towards the discussion and the conclusion, designing a built-in wardrobes is always a task because the layout it it is a task itself. Its uses, whereas what I found while doing the empirical survey is that the users find it the usage of the accessibility and the convenience of the built-in wardrobe more difficult because they are not considered while designing. Uh, One of the respondents had responded that their interests and the body types and the body measurements were not considered, which eventually made uh, the built-in wardrobe usage for them more difficult. And uh, accordingly, they have stopped using the built-in wardrobes and shifted towards movable wardrobes. Also, the consider what I understood according to the questionnaire and the empirical survey is that considering the height defines the ease of accessibility, and most importantly, the gender of the person represents the human and its interests. Wardrobes not only store our clothes and accessories, but it carries our personality with it. If if your wardrobe is well stored, it shows that we are organized and organized person. Um, there are brands like IKEA which have brought ready-made organizers which we use for storage, which is one of the most important reasons that behind gender inequality while designing a wardrobe. And at the end, I would conclude that these were the issues faced by genders and the users should be more should be brought in front while designing the built-in wardrobes. And the ready-made, as we as designers, it's in our hand. We can find solutions to this, and considering gender will show for ease of usage of the built-in wardrobes. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Hello. Sunayi hai. Thank you, ma'am. That was nice of you to finish within the time, and I'm sure you'll have a lot of questions regarding this very vital topic that you have chosen. Okay. The next presenter is Aditi Sontake and Khushbu. Okay. Uh, Presenting the next paper, we have architect Aditi Sontake, architect Khushbu, and student Vedant Ahir.
Hello, I'm Aditi Sontake, and my co-authors are Khushbu Parmar and Vedant Tahir, third year student. The title of my paper is Jal Jeevan Mission, an initiative for rural water supply by the Government of India. It covers Goal 6, clean water and sanitation. Water supply and sanitation are the primary infrastructures for any kind of human settlement, and rural water supply. wa- Rural water supply is facing challenges not only in environmental conditions but also at social and institutional levels. It affects health, hygiene, socio-economic development, and economic progress of the rural communities. It impacts not only local and regional economies, but the national economy as well. The Government of India launched a nationwide program named Jal Jeevan Mission to provide tap water supply for every household with reliable water sources, efficient infrastructure, and economically affordable. The mission creates success stories of the participatory approach of achieve reliable and equitable distribution of water of standard quality and adequate quantity. The overall framework, components, objectives, and expected outcomes of the Jal Jeevan Mission are covered in this paper. Um, uh, the studies based on qualitative and quantitative research as gathered from various reliable sources of information, and the conclusion will be derived from the inferences and findings of the study. This is basically United Nations Goal 6. It's a United Nation and India. All the Sustainable Development Goals, all the party nations of United Nations have 193 party nations, and India is one of them. And how India is collaborated with the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. This paper covers that. This covers SDG 6, that is clean water and sanitation, and specifically there are it targets target number 6.1 that covers Jal Jeevan Mission covers this target 6.1. SDG 6 has 8 targets and 11 indicators. So basically, need and challenges of water supply in rural areas, it covers about that. In rural areas, in nationwide, rural water supply is not taken much care of by institutions or maybe some local conditions, environmental conditions. So they are facing a lot of challenges from since freedom. So first of all, we'll cover the needs. These are domestic needs. There are the animal, we consider the economy of rural areas. Domestic, apart from domestic needs, there is animal husbandry, then irrigation and industries. So these are other major needs of rural India, of rural areas. And what challenges are they facing is a lack of stable water supply system, because already there is, in many villages, in most of the villages in India, there were no water supply. And because of there are some institutional limitations, like all the implementing agencies like Jila Parishad and other state governments, they are not capable to provide water supply to rural areas. And also the lack of community awareness, also the lack of community awareness and environmental factors. So if we consider institutional limitations, maybe we can say that there are government institutions like Jila Parishad, Gram Panchayat, they are not enough, their capacity building is not that much strong. And they have their own limitations in terms of technology in water supply infrastructure. Also the new upcoming theories of water supply, and also there is no community awareness, and environmental factors are climatic factors, geological factors, ecological factors. So these can be considered in environmental factors. So two major issues in water supply in rural India is water scarcity and water quality. When we speak about the water, the images can enough express what is the condition of rural water supply in India. So water scarcity means there is a quantity of water in various resources are lesser in many areas because of some climatic, because of less rainfall and temperature. So also the geological conditions, topography, all these things matter in water scarcity, and also in water quality. There are some quality issues because of some arsenic and other harmful chemicals inside the under the groundwater. So considering this, government has initiated National Rural Drinking Water Program, April 2017, Atal Bhujal Yojana, Jal Jeevan Mission. Will just focus on Jal Jeevan Mission. It is declared on 15th of August in 2019 by Honorable Prime Minister of India, Sri Narendra Modi. And it talks about the mission aims to provide functional household tap water connection to every household in India by 2024. So in this thing, central government, state government, and local community, they have a joint role in implementation of this, this mission. Then these are the components of Jal Jeevan Mission. Jal Jeevan Mission is implemented at, by national level, state level, district level, and also the village level. So this is the funding mechanism for this mission. Every mission or every program needs some funds. So these funds, just two slides, okay? So this is the funding mechanism. And one more important thing, UN SDGs to be accomplished by year 2030, but Jal Jeevan Mission has an ambition of 100% coverage to be accomplished by 2024. Then this is the dashboard as on 9th, yesterday's status of JJM, implementation of JJM. So 100% 100% FHTC in 4 states and 3 union territories they have covered. And this is the very exciting, and this is a very nice outcome. Child is filling can with fresh water, looks normal. No, it is miracle at 13,500 feet, and for them, first time in life seeing this magic. Under Jal Jeevan Mission, tap water has now reached Demchok village, altitude of 13,800 feet in Leh. 8 solar submersible pumps to ensure insulated pipes so that water doesn't freeze during extreme winter in 325 kilometers pipeline. Then this is the way forward, Jal Jeevan Mission, holistic rural development, which will be empower India. This will be this is the way forward, and let's hope it will be complete in time. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. You really touched on a very important topic, which is water for everyone. Thank you. Our next presenter is Shubhra Priyadarshini, and she'll be presenting online.
Am I audible?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, you are. Can you share your screen
If
slide?
my screen is visible?
Yes, it is visible. Shubha.
If my screen, yes. Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. My screen is visible, right? My presentation?
Yes.
Can you blow it up?
Okay.
If you can
start.
put it on the landscape mode,
yes.
you will have a bigger picture.
It's not,
Okay.
not very clear.
Yes, sure. Sure.
Yes, better.
Yeah. So, yeah, my name is architect Shubhra Priyadarshini Nayak. I am the first author of this research paper, that is preliminary assessment of COVID-19 waste management scenario during lockdown in Chandigarh and my co-author is architect Swati Behel Uppal. So we both are assistant professors and a professor at Chandigarh University, working as professor and assistant professor. And because of some personal reason, she is not here in the meeting. So I can carry forward the presentation.
Ma'am, after the first 5 minutes, a warning bell will be given. 6th minute, a second warning bell will be, and you'll have to stop the presentation by 7 minutes.
No, not at all.
Okay, ma'am. So you can start off right now.
Yeah. So I'll just come over the important points of my research paper. As I have already mentioned the name, so the name suggests that preliminary assessment of COVID-19 waste management scenario in lockdown period. So we have taken the area of Chandigarh and nearby Chandigarh like Mohali, Panchkula and Kharad. So we have taken the case study of these areas. Let me introduce the topic first. So the COVID-19 outbreak for the worldwide scenario. We have taken the
You're not audible.
now I am audible.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. So we have come up with a new normal, like being at home and working from home, uh, and using masks, gloves, and sanitization is done frequently, and new things like and disinfectants for cleaning the vegetables and other stuffs at home. So these are the basic scenario at the time of COVID-19. Everyone is aware of that. So we took an initiative to look into the percentage, the quantifying the percentage of like what is the amount of increment of the wastage, and what is the composition change in wastage, which is we have just taken the residential part of the cities. We didn't consider the commercial and the other other sectors. So we concentrated on the residential part. So for doing this research, we just went through the process, the methodology. We found out the case, the issue, what we needed to study about, and after that we just found out our case study, the reason we wanted to study. After that we went through a very rigorous survey, questionnaire survey, and after that, doing the survey, we found some other uh, other things, other issues. So we did a second round survey, and finally after two major surveys, we found out our inferences that what quantity and what quality of wastage has changed before lockdown and during the lockdown time. So this is the basic. We have chosen the Chandigarh and its periphery areas like Chandigarh, Mohali, Panchkula, and Kharad. So in the questionnaire, we concentrated on four parts like composition of waste generation generated at home during the lockdown, uh, daily basis and monthly basis, change changes in weight of the waste generated at home during lockdown and during lockdown in daily basis and monthly basis, and the third part was if the segregation scenario changed during the lockdown period, because we know every city or every village is not aware of like uh, doing the segregation before disposal of the wastage. So if the segregation scenario changed, and the fourth point was the frequency, what was the frequency of waste collection if that changed in during the lockdown period. So after doing the survey, detailed survey, and personal interviews at the places, of Chandigarh, Panchkula, and nearby. Give you an example. If you can see this right side pie charts, both the pie charts, we have asked people like what are the composition of the waste generated at home before lockdown and during the lockdown period. If you can see the topmost right pie chart, you can see like food waste, paper, plastic, metal, glass, and the other option was included with the face mask. So before lockdown, people were not wearing face mask that much, so 13.4%. And if you see the next pie chart, which was during the lockdown period, so people were agreed that 73.5% people were agreed that the composition changed as face mask was broadly used. So this is the type of questions we asked people and got the answers, and we just uh, analyzed the data we collected. So I would come to the conclusion part, that composition of the waste generated at uh, residence part during the lockdown period. Of course, people agreed that face mask,
Ma'am, you can continue. We have 1 more minute.
sure, sir. I'm just done with this. So I'm just putting the points of inferences. So yes, composition changed, and in the second round of survey, 94% of people agreed that the frequency of online shopping of various products, like may that be food, may that be clothes, and etc. So that increased. So that increase the online shopping, then the paper waste and plastic waste obviously improves. 59% people agree that they started consuming vitamin C and D capsules during the lockdown period because of the fear of COVID. Though they were not infected, but still they used more. So these are the inferences. And the frequency of course, the segregation of the waste management was increased by 10% during the lockdown period, and the frequency of collection of the waste from the cities were changed. Like before the lockdown period, everyday collection of the wastage were made, but in this period the frequency decreased, like 2 days, once 2 days, or once per 3 days they collected the waste. So these are our inferences from this research, this study. So yes, thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, ma'am. And with that, we come to the end of the paper presentations for this session. I now request,
Yeah.
okay. I now request Architect Ravindra sir to escort Shilpa ma'am, sorry, to the dais for the question answer session.
If my screen is shared till now, okay.
Thank foremost Principal Dheeraj Salotra for organizing this wonderful event in his college and accessible to all of us Mumbaiites. Thank you to Professor Ravindra Sarnaik for taking up this huge task. It's not an easy job organizing an event like this. And I'm happy that you have a blog running, which I was like fortunate enough to be, at least a little part of. I would love to see those blogs converted into research papers soon, actually. They're very nice topics. I just had a fleeting glance on the certificates. They sound extremely potential topics for formal research papers. I hope that can be taken up. I'm glad, of course, about the punctuality of the time factor, which has been so ably managed by you, madam. And a very enjoyable Saturday morning. There have been various topics. I'm glad you've selected such a varied range of topics for me to look at this morning, which covers open spaces, water, waste management, and of course, a very, very different topic of wardrobes and gender equality, if you will. Okay, so coming very quickly, let me start off with the questions, and if anybody has something, they can always come in with the question. The first paper about addressing mental health and well-being by Isa, not Isha, as your slide said, Pooja, Rakhi, and Dilshin. The query is very valid. The BMC does not take data for well-being, but somewhere, you're the presenters. Somewhere I think they even do not address the difference between what is an open space and a public space. Because open space is just that, it's an open space. Whereas I think what you specifically try to address in terms of mental well-being or public mental health is the fact of the design of a public space. That is very specifically not taken up. The DCR refers to open spaces. So I think that differentiation needs to be, more finely tuned by hopefully the BMC at some point of time, but definitely by us as designers. So what is your differentiation in this situation, in your study? Yeah, a very preliminary question right away.
So first of all, we try to find out the definition,
okay,
whatever.
Please keep sitting.
No, ma'am, it's okay. So whatever the DCR has said, it's all ambiguous. When we try to read here and when we try to go to the practical side, we totally found something very different. They have been confusing us with the open space ka definition, with the green space ka definition, with public spaces ka all the parameters with a very different set of DCR's rules and regulations. So we just got stuck there for a while.
Yeah.
And then we said we don't have any answers to it. We went to the book, we tried to understand through a book, then we realized whatever the definition of a book was given from a Western perspective. Like what happens in India, it's very different. Like there they want people to come down. Here we want people to get managed, right? So
Yes.
things are very different just to understanding things. So that's where the question starts. What is exactly a public? What is exactly a social? Do there need to be a physical kind of a contact or just a view, a kind of a threshold for a view is fine? So
Okay.
yeah, that's what our understanding is much more about.
Okay. The next thing that comes straight away out of your study is you chose Bandra as a single location for all three typologies that you did, whether it was public, residential, and commercial.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
Given the time frame and given the resources we were having, we found Bandra like what actually is a hub.
No, my question is not, but please complete what you're saying. My question is something else.
Yeah, ma'am, please continue, then we can answer.
Okay, so I think maybe your next study could be a little more in detail about looking at commercial places in different parts of Bombay or residential, or because then it's not comparing apples to oranges. You at least have a commonality of, because of the usage, the open spaces or public spaces in residential places or commercial places or what you're terming as public spaces will have different parameters. Here it's all three of them put together. So it's just a pointer for maybe your next study, which this is a very good springboard for.
And that's why we kept a loop in the last so that all the questions can come back and can be answered again.
Always, always. You had a table there with markings put up. Over here it was in your paper too.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. How did you come up with those marking criteria? Were there some base studies that you had done for that?
So all the students, like whatever we had, we went actually on the site and they were asking questions to the people there. Like all the old age people might be with the different criteria of age. And then we were trying to understand what they think about the porosity, what they think about the aesthetic, what they think about the maintenance.
So there was a common base
Correct,
of
correct. It's like
questions
a
that you
sampling
had
method,
asked
ma'am.
them to
Yes,
do.
ma'am.
Okay, okay. Yeah, that's what I wanted to know. Just as a concluding line, not necessarily a question, is I usually feel that in public places, gender, of course, I mean, it becomes gender studies in such places a very important point. But somewhere, I guess, the for lack of a better word, let me use the word weakest, but it's not in any way derogatory. The people who, let's say, who need the most help are the elderly and the children. So if any space is good enough for them, then I think it naturally brings in safety and all these other public concerns for everyone who fall within that spectrum.
Ma'am, I just want to add one point here. When we talk about the gender issue, we always think like a binary, like male, female. But there are many other genders which need to be focused, and somewhere this gets missed every time. So I just wanted to highlight that small kind of a
That's okay. So like I said, gender is one part. I'm talking about everybody. It's not only gender-based human beings who need safety and mental health, everything. It's everybody, starting with the aged and with the children and everything else. That's what I meant by the spectrum in between. Okay, thank you. It was very enjoyable. And I hope this is a springboard for further studies, because
Absolutely,
this is a very essential study required for, metropolises like Bombay.
Thank you, ma'am. We'll make sure it goes ahead.
Thank you. Sorry, anyone else would like to ask? There is a question coming up.
Anyone else?
For her, okay. So I guess we'll come to that. Okay, since that question is up here now. The second paper was by Aditi Srikhande, Understanding Gender Inequality in Built-in Wardrobes. A very different kind of topic, and one that is not interior design as a research topic is not very much dealt in. So I'm glad this topic has come up somewhere, and hopefully it will go in more. Wardrobes are shared in different family situations by siblings, they're shared by couples, they're shared by hostel roommates, they're sometimes even shared by family members because of paucity of space. The age group, she's not here, she's online, right?
Yes, ma'am.
She's listening to us. Okay. Hi, Aditi. You took up the age group of 19 to 30. So I'm wondering, out of all these users, what this age group consisted of which sort of users, like the ones I've named, siblings, couples, hostel roommates, family members. So 19 to 30 encompasses which set of people? Can she hear us? Can you hear us,
Can you
Aditi?
unmute yourself and then talk?
Actually, so I can't clearly hear ma'am what she's speaking to.
Okay, I'll just repeat my question very quickly. In your study, you mentioned that you took up the age group of 19 to 30 years of age.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. So there are a huge range of people who share wardrobes. It could be various family members in a single unit. It could be siblings. It could be couples. It could be hostel roommates. So in this age group of 19 to 30, which particular set of population have you selected? Was not clear.
The age group of 19 to 30 was shows because we have students who stay in hostels, as you mentioned. So I spoke to everyone, like from students to the marital couples. This age group was considered for online survey and not for the empirical one. For empirical survey, I've mostly focused on married couples, and I went and students. Like it's not I could only survey one of the student of 19 age for the empirical survey.
Okay. No, my question is very specific because you're talking, I gather, please correct me if I'm wrong, I gather that you are talking about wardrobes shared by more than one gender.
I'm really sorry, I can't clearly hear you. Your voice is echoing.
Take this up again, I know when the network is clear, because there are other questions also for Aditi. Maybe we'll come back to it later when,
Sure,
instead of spending time on this, so we'll keep this on hold. Third paper was the Jal Jeevan Mission and Initiative for Rural Water Supply by the Government of India by architect Aditi Sontakke. I'm very glad there's an engineer in this too, Khushbu Parmar and Vedant Ahir. It is rural water, getting tap water to rural areas, very important issue. You spoke about the roadblocks of implementation. You spoke about the factors of success, drinking water required for drinking and for sanitation, which are, of course, there are other uses, but these are the two main ones that you considered, including the parameters of scarcity and quality. You explained a great deal about programs which have come out of political will.
Yes.
You know, a lot of programs which are probably put up on paper or publicized in a certain way. I think the gap between the cup and the lip happens when you spoke about the community not being able to take it ahead, or either it hasn't reached the community effectively.
It is.
So my question is, what do you think can be done at the local level for capacity building of the the local communities, rural communities that you're talking of? That would be an important pointer to the way ahead.
Yes, about the local capacity building of institutional setups as well as the local community. When we talk about
Please keep sitting, madam.
Yes. Talks about the institutional setup, then we can say all the public institutions like Jila Parishad, Gram Panchayat, all the engineers working there, they need to be empowered in terms of of technological advancements as well as some social concerns. Similarly, at local community level, people should be able to maintain that water supply scheme which is provided under Jal Jeevan Mission for that particular village. People should be able to maintain and operate that scheme on their own. So they they may not be able to spending on operation and maintenance cost of the scheme, and it is for their benefit. Similarly, at the same time, if there is a water supply scheme, there are the water meters at every household level. So they should be able to pay the water bills. If they are not able to pay the water bills, the scheme will not sustain.
Correct.
So that is the empowerment for them also this requires.
And I think that's very important in terms of the UN, because UN has a very specific agenda of capacity building at the local level. Yes, so I think if there is something more that comes out of your study, it will be a very important white paper document that can actually be useful for taking this forward.
Yes, and even in this Jal Jeevan Mission program, it is one of the parameters of capacity building of institutional setups as well as the local communities.
Yeah, so that's exactly what I'm trying to point out to. I wish your paper had, spoken of that as a conclusion, because that becomes a very important thing of disseminating it among the public. Any questions about this very important topic from anyone here?
As well as awareness level of the community is also important, that they are going to get the water. So instead of because they are getting water, they have to pay for it. So that awareness, that how it is, water is important for your life, that awareness is also need to be given to them, especially for the quality of water and
Yeah, so another question that comes very immediately from your comment right now is, I suppose each of these policies that are implemented are rather place specific, because I don't think it'll be one blanket that covers all. Therefore, there may be original systems of water supply, like, I don't know, rivers or wells or water bodies that exist locally. Resources. So yeah, so would that also form part of this water supply problem, situation? Or is the pipe tap water the only thing that this looks at?
No, ma'am. In this Jal Jeevan Mission program, the program starts from strengthening the water resources locally available.
Okay.
Then it comes to water treatment. So direct, if it is a lake, is a local water source, and we cannot supply the water from lake only. There should be the treatment plant. So treatment plant is also one of the components of water supply scheme. Then piping, and then individual, and then the functional household tap connection. FHTC is the term in JJM, functional household tap connection. So it is to the every house. So this, overall, the water supply scheme has multiple components at implementation level, and water source, strengthening the water source, or even the generation of the new water source. Either it can be surface water or groundwater. So it is also the part of the program.
And there lies the topic of your next paper.
Yes, I would love to.
Okay. Any more questions about this paper? Okay, in that case, Madam, please let me know if I'm going over time. The last paper, which is by Shubhra and Swati, Preliminary Assessment of COVID-19 Waste Management Scenario in Chandigarh. A very important topic that came up during the lockdown, because in the lockdown we didn't know where we were, we didn't know what we were, we didn't know how to live. It was such a new situation. And yes, garbage collection that happens every day, things that we take so much for granted, doorstep, picking up and disposing of our garbage into some invisible place somewhere, didn't happen anymore. So that is when it hit home to us that how important this, this system is for our day-to-day life, and we don't even give any thought to it. So your parameters, this is again an online situation? Okay, so is she there?
Yes, yes, yes,
Hello,
ma'am.
yes,
I'm
Shubhra.
here only. Am I audible?
You are, am I?
Yes,
All
but
right.
I can't hear you clearly. Hello?
Am I audible, Shubhra ma'am?
Yes, yes, you are audible clearly, sir,
Ma'am,
but
if you
ma'am
could-
is
need to
not.
Yeah,
come there?
please, ma'am. I think it's better, ma'am, you come here because.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yes.
Okay, Shubhra, can you hear me now? Shubhra? I don't think she can hear my voice. Maybe you can ask the question on my behalf.
Hello, ma'am, are you there?
Oops, okay. So I think both sides, both Aditi Shrikhande and Shubhra have...
Yeah, sure. If it's not.
Okay, should we hold this up to the okay, Shubhra, can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you, ma'am.
Okay, I hope there's no echo because there are a lot of mics happening here now. My question was very simply that yes, in the lockdown period, we did understand how much we take for granted the waste disposable system in our metropolises. You spoke about the parameters that you took this study off from, which are very clear, consisting of family composition, waste composition, its quantities, etc. Your collection collection methodology, segregation, yes, frequency of collection. I have just one question at the end of all this. How much and how of what you learned do you think can be brought over to normal times for various situations? Because I think you took up only residential areas. So is there something any lessons that we learn here that we can bring into our non-lockdown life, which I hope is going to be forever now?
Yes, ma'am. Actually, we took only residential part because we were taking this like let's make this initiative or research for our locality, right? So that's why, and the residences are very approachable for us. So we started this research, this study at the root level. Okay, that's why we took these parameters and we limited ourselves into the residential part only.
And yes, about your question that if we are going to take forward anything from the lockdown period, whatever is going to stay with us forever, I can see in between the people that we have that fear still now in our mind that we need to keep a little distance from others, not even like if not every time, but at least when we are seeing someone suffering from mere cold or fever, right? So we are just having that fear inside our mind. So at that place we prefer to wear a mask, or we keep distance from the person who is infected, if he is or she is infected by mere cold even, right? So that fear of like getting infected from the things, the disease will be there inside our mind, I think. Hello?
Yes, okay. Yeah, thank you, thank you. And I don't know if Aditi Srikhande is around, if we can take up the remaining question
Yes,
with her.
ma'am, I'm here.
Yeah, can you hear us, Aditi? Thank you very much,
Yes.
Aditi Srikhand. Yeah, yeah.
May I disconnect the call?
Okay. So Aditi, can you hear me now?
Yes, ma'am, I can hear you now.
Yeah, so the earlier question, I just very quickly, since I think we're probably running out of time, is just wondering if these wardrobes that don't work, are they ready-made wardrobes or were they built with client input by the designer?
The built-in wardrobes. I spoke about built-in wardrobes specifically.
So they were with input from the client.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so the apart from the anthropometrics and ergonomics, I'm just wondering how the gender inequality came into place when such things have happened. Okay, have you done case studies of successful wardrobes along with the case studies of unsuccessful ones?
Yes, ma'am, I did a few.
Okay,
But
so it would be nice to see what are the factors that make a wardrobe successful versus those that are not successful. Maybe we can get that from you sometime. But just to conclude very quickly, there's a question from the audience from Smith Gogari, who's asking, as a conclusion to the study, are wardrobes gender specific or person specific? Which is actually a carry on from my question too. Thank you, Smith.
According to the survey that I conducted, I found out that the wardrobes are more specifically to the gender specific, more specific about genders, because uh, when you consider a gender, the person's interests, choices, and the lifestyle, it is to be considered. Whereas while we are designing the wardrobe, we most probably consider the requirement of the client. The client comes to us with their requirements that they need storage for their handbags or shoes and files or lockers or jewelry. Whereas what according to the research that I conducted, I found out that people more than requirement, they found the accessibility, like it is not easily accessible for them. The full height wardrobes, they have become one of the most trending wardrobes currently. Whereas this trending wardrobes, the client couldn't easily access it. They need support, or they need someone else to bring their stuff out of the wardrobes. Also, we have different types of clothing. So the age group that I took for the online questionnaire was 19 to 30. I specifically took them because they have more designs and they have more different types of variety of clothes, and which needs separate space for storing everything. So accessories, whether it be accessories or clothing, they need separate space. Whereas when I went for the empirical survey, I found out that there were no separate spaces considered for their interests of clothing or accessories. I found more of shelves where they needed more of hanging system. We have different systems. We have trays, we have drawers, and different things. But typically, if we see in India, or if the survey that I conducted, I found out more of the old storage type, that is shelves and drawers only, and which made the client more which made the wardrobe usage more difficult for the client. And that was the feedback that I got, and I did a study according to that.
Smith, I hope that answers your question. Thank you very much.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am, Shilpa ma'am. That was a very nice session because the questions were so interestingly asked and replied also. I'm sure it was a great interaction. Thank you very much for taking your time out and coming and being a part of this session. I now request Ravindra sir to felicitate Shilpa ma'am with a plant and our file. We now have a poster presentation.
We have now 4 students from our final year who will be presenting their posters. ये किसी और का है, ये पेन ड्राइव है. So the first poster presentation is by Shrutri Agrawal. Each presenter will get 2 minutes to discuss their posters.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Shruti Agrawal from final year BH TSAP. So my thesis topic is promoting sustainable society through Development Center for Transgender. I have directly targeted the SDG Goal 16, which is to promote peaceful and inclusive societies for sustainable development, to provide access to justice for all, build effective, accountable, and inclusive societies. So my paper focuses on building an operative, responsible, and inclusive society at a global level, which is the purpose of the proposal is to establish the pertinent need of bridging the society, gender, and architecture. The ideology behind the design is to bring the transgender commuters at a common platform of interaction, which will exchange the thoughts between them by informal education and through activities which will be appraising the sustainable society, and which will help in excluding the problems and issues faced by transgender, such as the social marginalization, poor economy, homeless, depression, discrimination, harassment, etc. So the trans, which is a confined gender beyond the sex, which is male or female, they could improvise their standard of living by providing an economic regeneration and social recognition, which would revive the harmony in the society. So the chosen site is at the promising location in the heart of the city, within the country in the state of the Maharashtra, in the Mumbai metropolitan region, which is a promising regional body, planning body, which promises the better livelihood and boost in development in each aspect of varied sector. So Navi Mumbai, being an evolving as a outgrowth of a MMR, create the best opportunity for the proposal. So the paper appraises the consensus model of the society by suggesting an integrated environment. Comprising as a whole under SDG Goal 16, the paper interprets the nourishment of the mindset of the society by taking all the aims and objectives into an account. Thank you.
The next poster is by Ahan Vaidya.
Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Ahan Vaidya, studying in 5th year of architecture, and the topic I'm studying for my thesis is Cosmic Exploration and Learning Center. Whenever we hear the word cosmos, everybody has a different picture in their mind. But understanding the cosmos is a very humbling experience where one learns how our existence is just a speck in this large ocean of fascination. This has inspired me to take up this topic. And it also encourages me to learn about it through architectural lenses. As astronomy and space science has played a pivotal role in science and technology development in our country, it also shows how a country's strength is in the global position. Thus, studying the Sustainable Development Goals, which was laid in 2015, for the sustainable and peaceful development going into the future. This topic covers two SDG goals. First is the SDG goal number 4, which is to provide quality education and promote lifelong learning opportunities for all. SDG goal number 9 aims to build resilient infrastructure and foster innovation. Thus, keeping these guidelines in mind, the aim of the project is to provide education and encourage the younger generation to take up astronomy. After covering many urban-based case studies, the decision was taken to select a large site in an urban setup and to target the younger generation. And thus, after brainstorming, the site was taken in Vashi, which is in Navi Mumbai, which acts as a satellite city to the Mumbai. The site being a large site with area to 25,000 square meters, it provides a large canvas to have a free-flowing design strategy. Thus, to conclude, this topic will explore the possibilities of how a cosmic exploration and learning center will promote India's growth in space sector through the lenses of sustainable development goals. Thus, having a holistic sustainable design approach through the cultural and design means. Thank you.
The next presentation is by Maithili Naik.
Good afternoon. My name is Maithili Naik, a final year student of TSAP, and I will be presenting my topic, Space Park, the future of space exploration and human development. Space has been a tool for humanity for more than 50 years now, and it is a key resource for several countries. Space potential for supporting the SDG goals is far greater, and there is scope for development, notably through collaborations that can have multiple usage of space technology. My topic, Space Parks, aims to increase India's access to space by creation of a facility for space enthusiasts to nurture space advancement, abiding by Sustainable Development Goal 9, which seeks to build resilient infrastructure, promote inclusive and sustainable industrialization, and foster innovation. My research had three major forms of analysis. The first part tried to map down the history of space exploration and the current scenario of new space, how it started and has evolved in our country, and my books, lectures, and news papers were my primary sources. The second part focused on awareness and problems in the sector, and government policies and lectures were my primary source. I also tried to understand how architecture can help as a medium for space exploration, and this was analyzed through different case studies. The third and final part emphasized on site location and a design program. My main criteria was to select a site which had a potential to sustain resources that can help for a design program that represents the interest of the whole nation. Thank you.
Our last presenter for today is Devrat Kagne.
Good afternoon, everyone. I am Devrat Jalindar Kagne from 5th year TSAP. So I am here to present my design dissertation topic of heritage cognitive spaces for historical redemption of Krishnapura at Bahadarpura, Kandhar, and its relationship with the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. It caters to the two development goals of 11 and 17. So to start with, India is the land of diverse history, dynasties, and their architectural contribution, which is now scattered in the form of ruins and archaeological precincts. Which is scattered in both rural and urban settings. So the design dissertation proposal at Kandhar in Nanded district of Maharashtra state in India aims at addressing the issue of lesser known heritage and unaddressed archaeological importance of medieval capital of Rashtrakutas, which can be achieved with the participation of multiple stakeholders. Hence, United Nations Sustainable Development Goal number 17 that says that participate to achieve goals, and with the Sustainable Development Goal number 11, that is to strengthen efforts to protect and safeguard world's cultural and natural heritage. Which can be these goals and the design proposal aims at achieving the design to promote rural heritage and tourism with collaboration of multiple stakeholders, managing authorities, proposals by Ministry of Culture under Niti Aayog, and proposals by ASI, state policies and local intervention, which can be replicated to promote lesser known heritage sites in nation, eventually helping to conserve and promote history and heritage to a broader extent, from a local level to state, eventually from national level to global level. Thank you.
Thank you all the students for presenting the posters.
Thank you, everyone. I request all the 4 students to come up here on stage who have just now presented. Come up here. Face audience. I must say, I really acknowledge, appreciate, and we should applaud these 4 youngsters for not just presenting, coming up and presenting, but being so precise, concise, and to the point. And I was amazed by the way that they stuck to the time limit, and before the buzzer could ring, they'd already finished it. So this goes to show their proper planning. They have been planning. Really, I must say, this shows that the young generation is ready to receive the knowledge and go ahead with it. So I am very, very, very happy to see that they have managed to deliver the content, not just speak, but deliver the content and keep us engaged and engrossed in what their poster is. They've come up with a very wonderful composition also of their posters. So a very big hand from my side also to all of you, and I hope all the others are also encouraged and inspired to go ahead. See, it's a very nice thing when you present your whatever you have done in your research or whatever it is. Come up on stage and speak and be a part of everything that's going on. So thank you all of you all once again. Good going. You can go. So with this, we come to the end of the first session of this day. And I would like to request all the guests and dignitaries to move for lunch. Third floor. Third floor lunchroom. And students, please come back for the second session because there is so much more to learn from.
Lockdown. Just left. Good one, Shruti.